Welcome back to Business 101, Introduction to Business. And in this video, this is our second lecture in our module number 2 on ethics and corporate social responsibility. And as you can see from the title slide, we're looking at the topic now of business ethics. What is ethics? How does it relate to business? And then how do we begin our exploration and our understanding of business ethics? Well, we can first start out by talking about ethics in the general philosophical sense. What is ethics? Ethics are individual personal beliefs about what is right and wrong, or what's good and bad. And the first thing we would underscore here is that ethics begin as individual beliefs. Everyone has their own beliefs about what is right and wrong and good and bad. And in fact, if we collect 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people or more in a group, we will find that for many people, we share the same kinds of beliefs about some things that are right and wrong. Some things are almost universal in our understanding of what is right and wrong. A lot of things would agree upon. We would typically agree, for instance, that, well, taking someone's life is wrong, and that taking property that belongs to someone else without their consent is stealing, and that's wrong. There are many things we would understand and agree upon in our mutual understanding, our collection of personal individual beliefs as we compare them one to another. However, there's also an awful lot of gray, fuzzy area where you may believe something is wrong, I may believe it's right and acceptable, or vice versa. Let me see if I can give you an example of this. At the College of Marin, there is an elevator. And let's say that on the elevator, going from the first floor to the second floor, you get in the elevator, you push the button, you notice there's no one in the elevator when you step in, but there's $40 on the ground, on the floor of the elevator, 2 $20 bills. You realize very quickly, whoever just got off the elevator on the other floor, they must have dropped that $40 unbeknownst to them right out of their pocket. Now, there are some of us who would pick up that $40, go back to the other floor, and see if we can find that person, knowing that, hey, this money actually belonged to them, they're probably going to need it. There are others of us who would pick up that $40, slip it quickly into our pocket and say, hey, you know, there's nothing wrong with keeping it. There's nothing better than found money. Nobody's name's on it. And I guess what I'm here to tell you is I can't necessarily tell you that one way of looking at it is good and one way of looking at it is wrong. That one way is evil or one way is acceptable. We just have our own personal individual beliefs about what the best conduct would be in that situation, what's good, what's bad, what's wrong, what's right. And therein becomes sort of the fuzzy nature of talking about ethics. Now, as we return to the slide, you'll notice that after that general definition of ethics, then business ethics can be defined as ethical or unethical behaviors in the professional world. And when we talk about ethical behavior, the textbook would define that as behavior that conforms to individual beliefs and social norms about what's right and good, whereas unethical behavior is behavior that conforms to individual beliefs and social norms about what is defined as wrong or bad. And so we look at these things collectively, we understand, well, this is a very, very, very large topic. And therefore, how do we begin to understand the discussion on business ethics? Well, when we talk about business and managerial ethics, and that would mean then ethics displayed by individual managers, we would agree that there are 3 realms for standards of behavior that guide individual managers in the work, and you see them there. Number 1, the organization's behavior towards employees. Is that ethical or unethical? What about number 2, employees' behavior toward the organization? Is that behavior ethical or unethical? And finally, number 3, the organization's behavior towards other agents. We'll talk about who those other agents may be, but let's take each of these categories one at a time. Number one, the organization's behavior towards employees. Well, what's ethical? Well, let's think about some of the domains that these kinds of behaviors might take place in. In organizations' hiring practices, for instance, or in organizations' distribution of rewards and promotions and good outcomes to employees. What about general equity and fairness in the way that an organization treats all employees? Or in employees' access to benefits, access to opportunities, the way that pay and compensation is meted out to employees. What about employees' safety in the workplace? These are all domains in which we might consider, well, is the organization behaving in a way that is ethical and fair to its employees? Now let's just talk about this for a moment. Do we honestly believe that all organizations are completely, absolutely ethical in their hiring practices? Because to tell you the honest truth, the way things work in the real world, if you are tall and good looking versus someone who looks like me, quite frankly, statistically, you will be hired sooner and initially be paid more. The data doesn't lie. And is that fair? Is that ethical? I think we both know the answer to that question. Not necessarily, but this is still the way the world works in many ways. Well, let's keep going. What about the employee's behavior toward the organization in return? What's ethical, how we return our behavior as employees to the organization that's hired us? Well, were we honest on our resume and our application? Will we keep company secrets confidential? Will we give the organization our very, very best effort as we said we would when we were hired? Do we give a fair amount of our time? Do we actually put in a full day's worth of work? Are we seeking the best interests of the firm in all that we do when we are on the job? Do we protect company assets while we're there on the job? And there, too, we would say, well, we know that's how things are supposed to work, but is that really the way things actually work? Because the latest statistics show that of U.S. employees, about 66% of U.S. employees fess up to abusing the sick leave policy at work. And you and I know how that works, right? You and I know, we're very familiar, perhaps, with this practice.
Excuse me, boss. I'm sorry to call in, but I don't feel very well. I don't think I can come in today.
Woohoo! We're going to go work on our tan at the beach. Yes, that's true. 2/3 of American employees fess up to abusing the sick leave policy at work at one time or another. And to me, what does that mean? It means the other third are probably not telling the truth, right? You know what I'm talking about. The kind of behavior that doesn't quite give our very best at work, that doesn't quite put in a full day's worth of work when we're there. Indeed, is this right? Is this ethical? Is this fair? No, but it is the way that the world currently works. Next, let's consider the organization's behavior towards others. Well, what's ethical? Does the organization produce safe products and services for its consumers? Is it fair in the way that it prices and treats buyers of products and services? Does the company stand by the product and service in terms of warranties, making things right if they go wrong? Are they honest in all of their advertising and marketing? Do they offer a suitable level of consumer protections? Do they pay their fair amount of income taxes to the government? These are all domains, including, do they treat the environment well and safely in the way that they manufacture and produce goods around the world? These are all considerations of what it means to have ethical behavior in the business world. We would probably tell you that all of these things are absolutely true. No, we still have a long way to go in business when we talk about all businesses and all employees behaving in an ethical manner. And yet at the same time, we would still suggest business can be a great force for good in the world today. But at least this gives us three primary domains to think about when we consider the different ways to examine and categorize ethical or unethical behavior in the business professional world. Hope this is helpful. We'll see you in the next lecture.